everyone! So we recently launched the wonderful Winona jumpsuit that we're both wearing today, and we love her.
Yes.
Actually, the last Winona video we did, we were in two different Winonas.
We were, yes.
So we've already made two each, plus all the samples.
Yeah, I have some fabric at home for
ready for another.
Number 3.
It's very telling of how much we love this pattern. And you all seem to have loved this pattern. Rosie has some stats that blew my mind.
It has been our most popular pattern since Lillian, the Lillian blouse, which was the start of last year, was maybe February 2023.
And she was the superstar.
She was the superstar of the year. And I think, obviously, we don't want to put shade on future patterns to come, but Winona might have been the superstar of 2024. I think she's quick to sew.
Yes.
She's quick to fit, and she's cozy, so just comfortable to wear. And
fresh.
Yeah, I feel so like smart and put together in a plain black one. But then my other one's sort of denim chambray, and it's super casual. Yeah.
Same. I feel very dressed up in this one because it's a slightly nicer fabric, and my other one is just fun cotton print.
Yeah.
But wonderful. And so thinking about. We wanted to maybe look into the history of jumpsuits, because we like to look at history, but also maybe demystify the jumpsuit, because I think there's a lot of people who are not into them, have never worn them, let alone sewn them, and we are two people who love jumpsuits.
Very pro jumpsuits.
In that sense, we're in the right position to do that, to do some jumpsuit propaganda. You will want to make one. No, but I have to say I'm surprised that the pattern did so well, because historically jumpsuits aren't the most popular type of pattern compared to dresses.
Yes.
And what are the concerns, do you think, that people have about jumpsuits?
I think people are worried about fitting. They think it's a bigger job to fit a jumpsuit. Yeah. I think people are worried about going to the loo.
Definitely.
Because
that is a concern
have to take
for me.
it off. Yeah. I've got some facts about that in my history stats as well. I think they're the two major ones. I think maybe style-wise, people can be worried about whether it's their style or not.
Yeah. I think also maybe it's too much.
Yes.
That's the thing.
Yes.
But so I think we'll address all of these things as and when we come to it, when we talk about the history. But it's good to keep those in mind, I think.
I think so.
And it's an interesting debate. Although we're both on the same side. So
that's true. It's like a debate in schools, aren't they? Just given one of the options.
True.
If one
I could never go against.
Yeah, we could not be anti-jumpsuit. We're very pro-jumpsuit.
But so you, Rosie, looked back at the very beginning of the jumpsuit as a garment. So shall we dive in?
Start there. We're going back in time. Can we put one of those things on the video? That was enough. So the kind of common accepted view of where jumpsuits came from was in 1919.
Oh wow,
early, and it makes so much sense when you read it or you say it. They were first made for people that jumped out of planes.
Makes total sense.
And because they're called jumpsuits, obviously, but quite often they are called flight suits.
Yes.
So they're just generally associated with people that would parachute out of planes in the military, I'm guessing mostly. Yeah. I don't think it was for the people doing it for fun.
People did much...
like, woohoo! In 1919, skydiving wasn't a big sport. No. But obviously, they were practical. They might have had a lot of pockets on for storing useful things. But mostly you don't have fabric, you don't have your shirt coming in.
You don't have belly showing.
Jumping out of a plane. So what is this? World War II, post World War II, World War One even, just post World War One.
Just after,
jumping out of a plane, going into a battlefield or anywhere like that, you do not want to be worried with your shirt coming out of your trousers.
No, and possibly catching on something.
Oh my goodness,
nightmare.
Absolute nightmare.
No, so it's like, it feels like it's safe.
It's safe, it's secure, and it's practical.
Very practical.
And I think that is the grounding of a jumpsuit.
Yes.
It is. Even however fancy it may be, it's really practical.
Whatever it evolved into.
Practical. So obviously that makes so much sense for where they come from.
Yeah.
And they, in the practicality terms as well, they were often made from quite warm materials, sturdy materials, so they'd last, warm materials, so they were insulated. Because people were up in places where it was absolutely freezing. It's not like going on EasyJet now. Absolutely perishing. And that was the kind of practical side of things. And then they kind of morphed into being a part of workwear in general, factories. Again, pockets, useful. Workwear, very practical. And of course, it was pretty much mostly for men.
Yeah, of course.
As all these things start
and
off
often worn over other clothes, am I correct?
You are correct.
Like for mechanics and things like that, it's a protective layer.
It's a protective thing. It definitely is. And obviously we've got the famous, probably the most, if you think the most famous historical person wearing a jumpsuit. Yes, it's my namesake.
Yes!
And she just
Rosie the Riveter.
Yes,
I should say.
Rosie the Riveter with her pose.
Yes.
And she epitomised the female workforce in World War II, wearing jumpsuits, covering up their clothes, but also being part of the workforce.
Yes.
It was very representative of that class of people. And so there were 2 instances in 2 different countries where artists saw the jumpsuit as like as something they could comment on as artists.
Ooh.
Like social commentary. So I think it was in 1919, so early days.
Still early.
There was an Italian artist called Fayette. It doesn't seem like
I saw that name come up and I was like, that doesn't sound Italian at all. I've never heard of them.
It's like, should it be Fayette?
Fayette, I have not come across this name before.
I have not at all. And he made a jumpsuit as an artistic statement.
Ooh.
And it was aimed to be worn by the working classes. And it was something that was an anti-bourgeois statement.
Yes.
And it massively backfired on him because all the people of the working classes, I mean, I guess you would be a little bit like, if you're working hard and some artist comes in and is like, look what I made for you. You might be like, dude, I've got to get down the factory.
Yeah, exactly.
What are you doing? But actually, all the high class people in Florence, where he was based,
which is where I'm from, that's so funny.
They were like, oh my god, this is amazing.
It's like a hipster thing, isn't it? It's
absolutely.
Like, I'm going to wear a workwear wardrobe.
How ironic.
It's so cool, how ironic.
Yes.
That's exactly the same.
So they all adopted it, and obviously he was furious because he was like trying to make this statement about the working classes. And actually, similarly, there was 2 artists in Russia. So we've got Alexander Rodchenko and Varvara Stepanova. And I think this was 1920, it was a similar time. They also created a type of jumpsuit as a uniform for the proletariat revolutionary.
Wow! Oh, wow!
So
you can't have a uniform for the revolution. That feels very like oxymoron.
Oh, we all supposed to be doing what we ought to do.
Yeah, exactly. It's like, but wear this.
Yeah,
It's very odd.
And again, it was adopted by the higher classes.
Oh no! This is very funny.
But also, it didn't. This one, I think, Fayette's work was seen sort of in wider sort of fashion and artist communities because it was Italian. There's a lot of people follow Italian fashion. People are interested in that. In Russia, especially at this time, not so much. So I think theirs kind of went a bit under the radar.
That's really sad.
Which is a bit sad.
Oh no.
But you know, fair play to them. Yeah. And I didn't
know.
that these jumpsuits have these kind of artistic and political.
Political, yeah.
Exactly. So that was a little class.
I like that.
Right? But then when it moved into fashion was more in the 1930s with Elsa
Schiaparelli.
Thank you.
Who we talked about in the bows because she did the knitted bow.
Oh my goodness.
She was cool.
She's a big deal in all of this.
She's a big deal for sure.
Yeah, so she designed kind of what's commonly thought of as the first fashion jumpsuit.
Yes.
And it was in silk.
Oh.
And it
had, that's the change, isn't it?
Exactly.
It's now a pretty thing.
Yes, exactly. It's in like a luxurious fabric. That's not workwear. It had pockets, as of the style, but they were enormous floaty pockets, which actually probably are quite impractical.
Useless.
And what would you... In the 1930s, they're not putting their phone in their pockets, so...
a lipstick at least.
That's it. And it caused a massive fuss, but it wasn't actually widely taken up, but it was sort of more like, scandal.
Well,
sort of
trousers
high-fashion
still
people.
at that point were a bit like, oh, trousers for women. What are you doing?
Yes, exactly. So that's 1930s, and then we start to move into World War II.
Yeah.
Which again, a lot of workwear jumpsuits.
Mm-hmm.
But what I looked into were siren suits.
Oh, I have not heard this term.
And I was actually doing this when I was at my mum's house.
Oh yeah.
And I mentioned the term siren suits, and she was like, oh my goodness, yeah, my grandma's had siren suits.
Oh.
And she didn't actually know, she just knew the term, but I found out that where they came from, it was a jumpsuit type garment that you would put on if the air raid siren went off.
Oh, I was thinking siren like mermaid.
No, that's what I thought as well. And I think it kind of developed into like a siren, like
Siren's
fashion
cool.
continued from that. It's like, it's a nice, it's a bit alluring.
Okay.
It's a really nice garment.
But it was actually protective when the
It's very
sirens
practical.
went.
Yes.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah, so Churchill started off, he had one. And then that kind of followed on as obviously like trends follow on from someone big doing stuff. And blokes had them. And then women started to have them too, and they'd be quite loose, or they might be like fitted in the waist but they'd loose elsewhere because you chuck them on over your nightie. And they had pockets for your precious belongings if you wanted to take some photos or whatever you might want to take down to the air raid.
Or whatever.
Yeah, exactly that. So I think they were originally quite practical. But I think we talked... Oh, it was in the sewing machine, you were saying, when we were talking about advertising to women.
Yes.
And they were advertised to men as
Oh.
insanely practical things. They were advertised to women as fashion.
That's so funny. And probably the cost was reflected in this
I
advertising,
think so.
I'm sure.
I think so.
I am sure of it.
Some things I read said they were advertised as fashion as a way to downplay the fears of what you would actually be doing when you put it on. Is like you're running to an air raid siren. And they're
That's
like, no,
fair.
it's cool, guys, it's fashion.
That I can understand more and forgive more. But
Also, I'm pretty sure it was probably like a marketing thing. Like, how to look pretty in the air raid siren.
Yeah.
It's like, that's nice. No, they did do sewing patterns for them, and they look amazing.
Cool.
What me and my mum were discussing, which I couldn't find much about, was the fact that during the war, fabric would have been quite restricted.
And that's a lot of fabric for a jumpsuit.
Yeah, and one of the patterns I saw had a hood. And
That's
had
just-
like balloon trousers, and like it was fashion.
Fashion.
And yeah, so I'm not quite sure about how that
But was it
marries
maybe
up.
a little bit later?
It could well have been when they became
more fashionable. So
thing.
I'm going to jump on this
Yes,
because
go on.
I've got looking at quite later on, but the first time that a jumpsuit was featured in Vogue, American Vogue, was quite late. I was quite surprised. 1964.
Wow.
The fashion magazine included a jumpsuit for the first time in it in 1964, and the following year Vogue patterns started doing jumpsuit patterns. So it was like, okay, it goes mainstream. There was a lot of Hollywood movies that incorporated the jumpsuit. Lots of powerful women in 1940s films wore jumpsuits. So, you know, it usually goes like famous people, fashion, and then it trickles down, and then the patterns from Vogue, the first Vogue patterns for jumpsuits were in 1965. So yeah, there's a little trickle down. But yes, so patterns, scarcity of fabrics. I feel like maybe, would it be something that you could make from old clothes?
Yeah, quite possibly, yeah.
So your husband's suit can be turned into a fashionable jumpsuit for you. I don't know.
And if they were, for the ones that actually were for the air raid shelters, like walls, like blankets you could probably use and stuff, because they'd want them to be warm, you'd want them to be practical. Potentially that as well. But yeah, I found it really interesting. There was this whole fashion around air raid shelters, basically.
Yeah, around necessity, really.
Then that's, I guess, how most fashion things are born.
That's true.
Which
well,
is-
like we were looking at both, and like the ribbons were made popular because French ribbon makers needed to make money.
Exactly.
So it's like, there's always a little something that makes it make sense.
I know. It's always, to me, it always comes back to that bit in Devil Wears Prada, where she says, you've bought that blue t-shirt, but you don't know, and it's the whole history of why that t-shirt is that shade of blue, and you think you've not made a choice, but actually all these decisions and all these like things that have happened have made you buy that blue t-shirt.
That blue t-shirt that you think is not fashion.
Everything is fashion.
Very important.
But yeah, that's mostly my area of stuff. But yeah, a lot of practicality. I think it's what we've said, just all these things that come from necessity.
Yeah.
Then people take on and go, hang on a second, we can also make this fashion. And it's all about, I suppose it is, it's a lot of stuff coming from the lower classes and the upper classes adopting it as something they want.
Yeah.
But they have no practical need for it. But then it becomes fashion and then it filters down.
That's interesting as well, yeah.
Yeah, a lot of those things. Which...
Is it good? Is it bad? I don't know.
It just seems like quite a common cycle.
Yeah.
Like, things come out of necessity, then they're adopted, and then it all...
re-trickles down.
Yeah, it's very interesting.
So I, following on from that, I'm going to jump ahead in my jumpsuit ahead to more of the 70s. That's where I landed. And actually one of the... most famous wearers of jumpsuits, who is Elvis Presley, the king. And I recently watched Elvis the film, which brought it to mind. And what I loved is that Elvis ended up wearing a lot of jumpsuits on stage and off. Mostly designed by a designer called Bill Bellew. Bill Bellew, I think is how you say it. I'm not 100% sure. The idea was impact. You know, Esme on the sewing bees always talking about impact.
Like,
and the jumpsuit did that. Because as men, you don't get dresses. You do
That's
now.
a very good point.
But I think it's always a suit. And a suit can be impactful, but it's not like, whoa, what is that? Whereas a dress does that for someone on stage.
Yeah.
And so I found that very interesting. And a reason that I love jumpsuits is that they make an impact.
That's it.
Even if it's more casual, but it's just like, whoa, this is a thing.
Yes.
And I love that. And maybe that's something that people don't like about jumpsuits, that they like to not be noticed.
Yeah.
I absolutely love that. So that's what attracts me to jumpsuits, and that's what attracted Elvis to jumpsuits.
That's interesting.
And so there's a lot of, there was rhinestones everywhere. We'll put some pictures in, but it was definitely impactful. There was rhinestones, there was deep V's, they were tight. Which a big thing with Elvis was his sex appeal, let's not lie.
Yes.
And the tightest trousers will help with that.
There's a reason those women were fainting.
Exactly. There was a lot to look at. And I just found so many examples of Elvis jumpsuits. They were stunning. They were just, very impactful, very sexy. And lots of them were white because when Elvis was touring at the start, the lighting game wasn't at its best yet, apparently, so you could only do a few things with lighting. So the white made him stand out a lot because it reflected any light and they could project colourful lights on it and it would just look incredible. And I've never... I guess I've not thought as much about male artists wanting to make that entrance and
stage.
Of course they do.
Yeah.
Duh. And Elvis did that with the jumpsuit and many other things. He also had caped jumpsuits, so a whole lot going on. But that was really exciting to read about. And then David Bowie, also in the 70s, another artist who really liked to make an impact with their look, and lots of jumpsuits were worn. I found one that was during the Ziggy Stardust period that was knitted but only had one leg.
Oh, hello.
Really cool. I'll put the picture in. And then there's this balloon-legged one that was from the Aladdin Sane alter ego, so a little bit later, from a Japanese designer called Yamamoto. Very, very cool.
Very.
And again, this was all for him to make an impact. And also mess with gender ideas. Again, is the jumpsuit male? Is it female? Is it both? It's one way or another.
That's it. Yeah, it's one of the most androgynous. Well, it can be one of the most androgynous, but it also can be very male and very female.
And it all depends on the style, I think. But because dresses aren't or weren't now you do see it, but
Yeah.
they weren't as adopted by male performers. The jumpsuit was on both sides.
Yes.
So that was very interesting. And still in the 70s, I also landed on ABBA, who of course great wearers of
Yes.
jumpsuits. And what's interesting about ABBA is that it's 2 men, 2 women,
Yes.
all wearing jumpsuits.
You can get that uniformity.
Yeah, because you can't put them all in the same dress, but you can put them all in the same jumpsuit.
Yeah.
How cool is that? And something extremely funny that I read is that ABBA wore outrageous costumes at the start, especially because they found out that in Sweden the tax rules said that you could deduct costume costs from
so they
your
were
tax
like,
return. So they
"It's
were
a
like, we'll just
costume."
wear this all the time. But it's a costume because no sane person would wear this on the street, but they were wearing it all the time.
Oh
And
my
so they
goodness.
basically didn't spend any money.
That's
I
so
find very funny. Choose the jumpsuit, the sparkly jumpsuit for that reason. There was a lot about basically performers in jumpsuits because of the impact and because of the almost outrageous look that it gives you. And I love that. I love that because now I feel like it's quite normal to wear jumpsuits.
I would say so.
I would say it's very common. You see it in all the high street shops.
Absolutely. We were saying, when did it, because it kind of went out a bit.
Yes.
When we were younger.
Yeah, I would say growing up I didn't wear jumpsuits.
No, it was like a child thing, like you'd wear a romper as a child.
Yeah, romper, which is different, yeah.
And I think as like a teenager, or I was like in my 20s, I'd feel, or in my early 20s at least, feel like a child.
Like a child,
wearing it.
yeah. I think overalls resisted. I definitely wore overalls in my teenage years, but not jumpsuits.
No.
Full. And then I remember distinctly at some point after uni, we were saying possibly it's like 2008, 2009, that it trickled down. It would have been on the catwalk already for years, but it trickled down to like Topshop and I don't know, all of those shops that suddenly they were everywhere.
Yes.
Everywhere.
Yes. All of a sudden.
And what did you think at the start when they came back? What did you
I
think?
I've always been quite pro a jumpsuit.
Nice.
When I was at university, I didn't wear dresses at all.
At all? Okay, so you were like, this is a dress and
Yes,
trousers, great!
Exactly, and for me it was something that was a bit more exciting, but I didn't like being really girly at all.
Well, there you go, the androgynous thing comes back, I like that.
That's it, and it was a way to look smart that wasn't trousers, because I like high-waisted trousers, but at that time
they weren't around
trousers
at
weren't
all.
high-waisted. So I was like unhappy in trousers, unhappy in dresses.
Oh,
and I do remember, I know.
It's frustrating.
This is where sewing comes into it. Like, if only I sewn then. But yeah, jumpsuits came as something that I was much more comfortable wearing and could feel like I was having like a night out and dressed up with my friends.
That is a recurrent thing in designer jumpsuits that I kept reading, is that you can dress them up and down more easily than other things, and it's so true. With the shoes.
Yeah.
In terms of when they appeared in shops before I sewed, I loved the idea and I could never fit in them. I think because my top and bottom were different sizes. Ready to wear does not cater for that at all. And also the length of the crotch, it just didn't work, and I was really sad. I remember being really sad. It's like, I like the idea of this, why can't I wear it? And I found maybe a couple that I bought a little bit bigger, so they would be looser on the top and I'd find a way to make it work. But it never clicked for me until I started sewing, and I was like, I can make all the jumpsuits. And from the very early days I made jumpsuits. So it was like, this is unlocking something for me fashion-wise.
What is it about jumpsuits that you're sort of drawn to?
I think it's the impact. The Elvis impact, as it will be known from now.
The Elvis effect. I love it.
Yeah, the Elvis effect. I don't know why. For me, a jumpsuit is more of an all-in-one than a dress. I don't know why, because it's the same thing, but there's something about it that I just don't think about accessories and shoes as much as with a dress.
No, I completely agree.
I don't know why though.
And even though we say, and they are everywhere. it still feels like a bit of a
special.
I'm in a jumpsuit.
Yeah.
Does anyone else in this room in a jumpsuit?
Daring,
Yeah.
maybe? Is that a
It
thing?
feels like a choice.
A choice, yeah. You're saying like, yeah, it's a confidence thing maybe as well.
I think it is a little bit.
And but I do think there's a jumpsuit for everyone out there. Like
100%.
if you just look at our catalogue, we'll put a picture up again. But we've got quite a few jumpsuits.
Yes.
Which when I was compiling it, I was like, actually, there's quite a lot. And they are so different. We've got knit ones, some for lighter fabrics like we know now, some from sturdier fabrics like the overalls.
Yeah.
Sleeveless, sleeved, buttons, zips, like there's so much going on.
That's it. And then
they're all a jumpsuit.
They're all a jumpsuit, and you can be super, super casual.
Yes.
Or you could be Camille from
That's
from
fancy.
Work to Weekend is fancy. I've never made Camille.
I've never made. I'm very attracted to it.
The sleeves.
Yeah, the sleeves are gorgeous. There's little shorts ones. So there's a penny add-on that has it turns our popular penny dress into a little playsuit. I've made that before.
Yes.
Love it. Love wearing it. There's a lot of different styles, and there's dressier and more casual ones, as you said. I think Winona hits the spot in between because it can be both.
It can be both. Just choose your fabric.
Choose your fabric. Exactly.
Way you want to go.
But it's really fun, and I think I was trying to think of famous jumpsuits in pop culture.
Yeah.
And because we did something like that for the bows, and I think again they are from all the spectrums of jumpsuiting. Also there's a lot of terms: jumpsuit, playsuit, flight suit, catsuit. I would say is the same family because it is again an all-in-one. And I was thinking of the Britney Spears red catsuit from Oops, I Did It Again, I think.
Yeah.
Stunning.
When she's on Mars.
She's on Mars. She's on Mars, obviously, guys. But that's like, talk about impact.
My God, that
I
was
see a snippet of that image and I know the song in my head. Like, instantly.
Yeah, that was a moment.
That was a moment.
That kind of
big
musical
time.
history.
Absolutely. Yeah. Then there's the you would have seen in the Renaissance tour of Beyonce. She had a crystal catsuit with hands like this.
Yes.
And I've seen so many. Before I saw the thing, I saw the recreations
of it. Yeah.
That stirred the making world.
Yes.
Completely. Then personal favourite. The pink overalls in the Barbie movie from last year when the Barbies revolt. The uniform for the revolution. It was the pink overalls. And I made
Russian guys.
The Russian guys were like, yes, someone's outfitting a revolution in a jumpsuit. But the second that came on screen, I was like, I need to make one. And I used our overalls pattern to make it. Like, I love it. It just makes a thing happen. Like it stirs people.
And I think a lot of people are quite scared about fitting. Obviously in our world, you're sewing, you're fitting. A fitting takes time.
Yes.
But I don't think I put any more effort into fitting a jumpsuit than I would a dress.
A dress, no, same. I would say that probably my jumpsuits fit me better because I've taken time to fit them, whereas some dresses I don't.
Just like,
because dresses I'm like, meh. But you just think of the same things. So
it's exactly the
shoulders,
same.
Here, and then the crotch area, which sounds scary, but once you've done it once for trousers, you do the same things to the jumpsuit.
That's it. And for something, if you're kind of scared of that area, something like Winona is more fitted above here, so if you're happy with doing and checking the fit above here, but you're a bit more wary of trousers and crotch and bum adjustments.
This is a great one.
I mean, I don't really think, other than grading for size, I think you could probably get away with not doing much at all.
For sure.
And just see if the styles for you is a good...
Yeah.
We were calling it a
gateway jumpsuit, for sure. And I think, again, there's different directions you can go into. So if you want to make a super fitted catsuit, then maybe wait a bit, sew a few jumpsuits first. But it is an extra. It's just, think of it as if you're altering or you're fitting a top and trousers. So if you've done that before, you're just combining it. And we have a great class on Stitch School, which you mentioned, which
is so helpful.
About things you have to think about when fitting a jumpsuit.
Yes.
And Julie teaches it, and it's you know, very, very handy. And the other thing is the toilet thing, which I'm a big advocate for. So I'm someone who literally needs a wee every 3 seconds. It's just me. And so I do think about that with jumpsuits. So I personally would not pick a jumpsuit pattern that involves tricky closures. I would not, I don't know, do a zip that comes all the way up here because I know I'm going to be faffing like this to get it open. I wouldn't choose that for myself, but because I know myself, I'm someone who, if they need to go, they need to go. So something like Winona's amazing because we've got the elastic option at the back. You just pull it on and off. Something with a closure at the front is great. Yes. Because then it's at the front, it's accessible and you know it's quick. Something maybe with a zip at the side. Personally, I wouldn't go for a zip at the back. That's the main no for me.
I think
and if there's a pattern that I loved that had a zip at the back, maybe I switch it over to the side.
That's it.
We have a stitch school class actually about moving.
Yes, things for sort of accessibility and different openings.
So maybe that's a handy one. If you've got your heart set on a jumpsuit
you love a style, but
you love a style, but you're like, is it gonna be faffy for me to get out of? Move the opening.
That's
you
it.
Can
and
usually do it.
Think it's only the amount of consideration. So I have to think about bras. I'm never going to go braless. I always I look at dresses and I'm like, I'm never going to wear that because it's not going to work with the sort of bras I wear.
You wear, fair.
But it's only that amount of consideration, I think. Or if I love a dress, and I might think, do you know what, I love that, but actually I'm going to have thicker straps on it. Yeah. Because for me, that works. And it's the same as...
Yeah. It's like, can I get out of it quick for the loo? Yes.
I'm just thinking that's the joy of sewing. Thinking about what you want and change it. Make it perfect.
Exactly. And also there's ways of maybe combining patterns, you know, already work. Like Jemima did recently. She made a jumpsuit out of the Una dress and the ultimate culottes. And, you know, she just made that quite easily as a hack. And she knew the two things fitted. She'd made both patterns before. She just combined them. Done.
And that was just elasticated waist as well, wasn't it? So
it's not like, even that's a zip. That's a zip.
Is it zip?
Yeah, but it's possibly easier because you know the trousers already have a zip. And the Una has a seam on the side, so it was just extending the zip. Yeah,
easy peasy.
And I think basically, if you want to give jumpsuits a go, you can. There is a way. There is a gateway jumpsuit for you. And I think there is something definitely that feels empowering to me.
I think so.
It makes me feel put together, it makes me feel confident and also comfortable.
Yeah, they're the quickest outfits in the morning to be I am done, I am ready. And I just thought of one fact.
But if you're checking my notes, sorry.
If you're on the fence about options for going to the bathroom and toilets, in jumpsuits, you could always add in what they used to add in, which was called a drop flap.
Oh, I have heard of this and seen
delightful name, which I think often is maybe in kids' clothes sometimes, where you have a little flap in that area with buttons on, so you can just go whoop.
So funny.
Maybe that's the next Winona with a
I love that.
I'll be alright.
I have seen things like zips down here and all of it just makes me incredibly uncomfortable. I'm like, no, I'll just make a jumpsuit that I know I can take off very quickly.
That is much easier.
That's much easier, to be honest. But no, something we could mention actually, to try the look of the jumpsuit without committing is the faux jumpsuit. So make a top and trousers in the same fabric and tuck it in. And then you get that look, and it's a way to go, I do like being in an all-in-one. And then the next time maybe you try a jumpsuit, but that's an easy test.
I think so.
That's
a
nice
great idea.
Easy test. I think I've done it at some point. I've got some culottes and matching top.
Esmeralda,
yes. I've got culottes and an Emily top in the same fabric. And I love that. But something I do love about jumpsuits is that if you bend over or reach up, nothing shows here. I do like that. Practicality, exactly.
Win-win-win.
So, but, you know, there's ways to test your love for jumpsuits before you go full in. And then if you don't like it, you've still made a lovely top and lovely trousers. carry on with your life. Don't make a jumpsuit. So there are ways for you to get into the trend. And I don't know if we can call it a trend still, because it's been a while. I don't think they're going anywhere.
Clothes.
It's just clothes. It is just an accepted, like if you look again at brands, like fashion brands and also high street, because I did have a quick look to see, they're everywhere. Like every shop has a jumpsuit.
Yeah.
At least.
That's it. And there's just so many different styles and they suit so many different shapes and figures. Exactly. I do think there is a jumpsuit for everyone.
For everyone. And I think about it the same way you would think of a dress.
Exactly.
Like, what do I like? I like straps like this, like what you were saying about the bra.
Yeah.
I like sleeves for sure, or I like cinched in waist, I like straight up and down. There's gonna be a jumpsuit for you, for sure. Like, don't fret. I think we can end it there, maybe.
I think so.
I was going to say, what's your favourite jumpsuit that you've made? But I know the answer, and it's the same as me. And it's
literally this one.
Honestly, it is.
I will wear it so much, and I'm going to layer it up when it gets a bit cold and wear it for as long as I can with my ankles on show.
Yeah.
One of our pattern insiders
lengthened it quite easily.
Yeah.
I thought that looked amazing, actually.
I think that would be really lovely.
I've worn this. I made it last week. I've worn it 3 times already. I can't get enough.
No.
Honestly. And I have made some jumpsuits I absolutely adore. And for winter, my go-to is the overalls, the Barbie overalls. Because working from home, sometimes I'm like, ugh, I don't know what to... I basically want to stay in pyjamas, but not. But I do like to dress up to make myself like awake. Right. And sometimes when I can't think of what to wear, the overalls have been genuinely, I just reach for them all the time. It's just comfortable, but it makes me feel excited because I'm wearing something put together. Yeah. It's an outfit.
Yes.
It's not just something that you haven't thought about, but you haven't thought about. If that makes sense.
Secretly, I thought about nothing.
I thought about nothing. But it looks like I've definitely made an effort.
Yeah.
And yeah, I love it. There's something about it that's really... it's just ideal. 10 out of 10.
Yeah. So if you haven't guessed, we are very pro jumpsuit. And I hope amongst this and a bit of our history, you might have learned something.
Yes.
Heard something you've not heard before, or been inspired to give a jumpsuit a go. Yes. Because that is our dream, I think.
Absolutely.
Everyone to feel confident enough to just go and try something new in sewing, or something new to wear, or just make more Winonas.
More Winonas.
Which is
how many will we end up with?
But I think as well, if there's have we got any other history? I feel like we need like a name for our history with Rosie and Alma. And a little theme tune.
Have we got any?
I don't think we've got any.
We don't have any planned, so maybe put in some suggestions below if you can think of something. I feel like maybe either our September pattern or October pattern could potentially have a history of. Yeah. Because they are like
specific things.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And we've given something away, but just that there will be a pattern.
Yes, exactly.
Ooh, exclusive. But I feel like there could be a history of in that sense. Yeah. Potentially the next Ava Palooza style thing that we're doing also could have a history to go with it, but I don't know, maybe we just sneak in some history stuff with our teammates.
You can't help it.
Exactly, it's like, in 1962, oh no!
Jemima and Chloe are there going like, what are they talking about?
But yeah, if you have any ideas of types of garments or styles or fabrics. We haven't done a fabric one.
Fabric would be fun.
The history of a certain type of fabric.
There's so much, again, so much that was like invented for necessity and is now, anyway.
Denim would be good. Maybe with Jeans Club, it could be enough. Jeans Club. Denim has a great history and it's contested history because there's the Italians think they invented it, the French think they invented it, the Americans think they invented it.
Bring it on.
Bring it on. Denim wars could be fun. Anyway, we digress. On that note, we hope you enjoyed this video. Give us a thumbs up if you did. And we hope that there's enough of you out there that enjoy the geeky ones, right?
Yeah, we do, because we really like doing that.
Love doing that.
Love a bit of learning.
Absolutely. And subscribe to our channel. There's lots of content coming up, not just history. There's teammates, team chats. There's all sorts. So stay tuned and don't miss a single thing by subscribing and clicking the little bell sign so you get notified as well. But we'll see you again very soon. Thanks for watching. Bye.